We're going to have the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. We all stand, please. With the invocation first. As we gather here, let us open our hearts and minds to thoughtful discussion, seeking common ground and positive solutions for our community. Amen. Amen. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody sit.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to start off by calling for a motion to approve the agenda for today. I'm looking for a member to second that approval.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. I'll call for a vote. Everybody agreed to accept the agenda as is? Say aye. Okay. We have a full committee agreement. Under the old business, we have minutes from the April 2nd, 2024 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Again, I will ask for a vote to approve the minutes as written, with changes, without changes. I ask for a motion.
I make a motion without changes.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. I have a vote. Everybody in approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passed. New business. We're going to have a swearing in for public comment, so if anybody wishes to speak at this meeting, I ask them to step up to the podium.
Anyone who wishes to speak, please just stand up where you're at.
Yeah. Didn't know there were going to be that many people.
If you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear that I will speak truthfully and accurately to the best of my knowledge and ability.
I solemnly swear that I will speak truthfully and honestly to the best of my ability.
Thank you all. And when you come to the podium, please state your full name and address for the record, and make sure that you speak into the microphone. And you will have anyone for the public will have a 3-minute timer set for you. It'll be a little bit longer because it'll be up there.
Okay, under new business. Consideration of a variance request to approve a concrete patio to remain in the side setback 16 inches from the property line on parcel 042-04-00-093, located at 239 Garden Gate Circle East and Magnolia Walk, and Zone Plan Development District. I'm going to ask Chris to give a staff presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming here this afternoon, or good afternoon. Today we are here to discuss a variance request for a concrete patio out in the Magnolia Walk area of Hilton Head Lakes. It's 23019 Garden Gate Circle East. For a description here, the variance is to request to allow the concrete patio to stay in its current location, which is 16 inches from the property line, or in this case, it's a 3.6 foot encroachment into the 5 foot required setback. For a little bit of background, it is a 0.121 developed residential property out in Magnolia Walk. The concrete patio was built without a zoning approval into the side setback. The resident did receive a stop work order, and they immediately contacted the city to see what the next step was. So they've worked really well with us so far on trying to get things into the right direction. The applicant is seeking a variance request once again to be considered by the Board of Zoning Appeals to allow a 3.6 foot encroachment into this 5 foot side setback. And this would allow the concrete patio to remain in its current location. For the project setting, it's in Magnolia Walk. All the surrounding properties are also, and there's a mistake there, to the south, that is residential developed in the city. That's all Magnolia Walk. As you can see here, this is their property right here. As you can see, these are pretty narrow lots here. This is the owner, the 239 here, and it's hard to tell on this here, but Garden Row is actually it's like a back alley. So where they come in. There's some garages back here and things like that. And then you can see the zoning that this is all planned development districts. And for reference, this is in between the two homes here. I took that from the road, and then this is the patio in question on the side. And as you can see here, there's also a little spout. They have the drainage coming down and underneath the concrete to come out into this. There's a swale through here that pushes the water into in between the homes. So the Board of Zoning Appeals may grant a variance in an individual case of unnecessary hardship if the board makes and explains in writing the following findings. And these are the 5 points that that we'll go over in a later slide. I'll go in more detail of them, but these are what you guys are going to do for your findings of facts. And then we're going to go to the analysis. This is another view of this is the patio here, the adjacent home. And then the applicant, they're requesting the variance, but so the City of Hardyville Zoning and Development Ordinance states that unroofed landings, decks, stairs, and balconies may project into the required front and rear setbacks only. They are not permitted into a side setback. The West Argent PDD has a minimum setback of 5 feet from the property line for pools or decks. The concrete patio does not meet the standard, being 16 inches from the property line. The use proposed in this application is inconsistent with the West Argent PDD standards and current MZDO. However, exceptions to allow structures to be constructed within the setbacks can only be granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals. And then I'm going to go over the 5 points for the criteria here. So are there extraordinary and exceptional conditions? We did find that due to the narrowness of the lot, the only option to put a patio would be to the side in this case, because the lots are very narrow through all of Mag Walk. Do the conditions generally apply to other properties? The conditions above, several properties within Magnolia do, hold on, let me backtrack. The conditions above do apply because all of the lots down there are very narrow. Every single lot back there is narrow the way that they were designed. So it doesn't really allow for additional expansions or accessories in that area. Because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Due to the narrowness of the property and size of the lot, a concrete patio would not be able to be poured anywhere except the side of the home within the side setback. The authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by granting the variance. Should the Board of Zoning Appeals grant a variance for the concrete patio to remain in its current location, it could potentially cause substantial detriment to the adjacent property by changing the way the water flows into the swale. Prior to the concrete patio being poured, water coming from the roof was mostly absorbed by the grass before reaching the swale. The water is now being routed directly into the swale, which could potentially cause standing water and flooding to adjacent properties in the event of heavy rain. If approved, we would ask that you would approve with conditions that drainage improvements would have to be required by Board of Zoning Appeals as determined by a civil engineer. And once again, are there special circumstances that exist, i.e. narrowness, exceptional topographic conditions? As stated above, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions due to the narrowness of the lot back there. Once again, when you go to make a motion this afternoon, you can make a motion to approve as submitted. You can make a motion to approve with conditions. You'll want to be clear on your condition, and we ask that you set a time frame of when the condition needs to be met. So if they need to reach out to a civil engineer, you could say it needs to be within 30 days or whatever you guys feel is the right time frame for that. Or you can make a motion to deny the application, but when you do, please make sure you state your findings of facts and the reason why you deny the application. At this time, I'm going to bring Laura up here and oh, sorry, I'm gonna bring Brianna.
I just wanted to add that it, the reason for the whole purpose, one of the main purposes for the Board of Zoning Appeals is to grant relief from the strict standards of the MZDO. Having said that, that's why they put those little more subjective findings of criteria in there. And a lot of it has to do with public opinion, with all the factors, and we are here to help in any way we can to help you work through that. And with that, I just want to say all of that Chris and I are here to help in any way we can. And now we can turn it over to the applicant for the variance.
Good afternoon.
My name is Laura Salerno.
And my name's Tyler Salerno.
We live at 239 Garden Gate Circle East in Hardyville. Our goal here today is to reach common ground on our patio that we poured. We are first-time home buyers. We were in our neighborhood and we saw several other homes pouring patios and we thought it looked great. We went through our HOA, which is Associa, and we filed all of the documents and went through months and months of applications with them to get approval and went through the process. We were completely unaware that there was approval through the city, so we apologize that we did not do that. As soon as Chris came onto the property and said this to stop the work order, that we did not do that, I think we paid within minutes and submitted the application because we were completely unaware that we had to do that. If we knew, we would have done it before and asked for the variance beforehand. We poured the patio and have gone through a lot of
Take your time.
So we tried to do the right thing. Fortunately, we didn't, and that's why we're here today. We are asking for your approval for this. We have a 1-year-old child. The reason we did this is on the side of the house, there was only a narrow sidewalk. So by providing this patio, we're able to move the grill off of the side of the house a little bit and give him a little area to sit and play while I hang out and grill outside. We got a lot of our neighbors' approval and support. So that's all the people you see sitting back here today is these are all our wonderful neighbors that have come to support us. So
we also have 72 signatures from our neighbors in Magnolia Walk, if you would like this, that support the patio as is. And
we would just like to say that we are willing to compromise and do the right thing. If the issue here is the drainage, we're willing to rectify that however you guys see fit. Whether it's moving the drain, whatever you guys are the experts, we'll defer that to you. But we are willing to rectify if that is the issue here is the drainage in the middle of the swell, I believe is what it was called. We're willing to make that happen.
when we met with them earlier to discuss all of this, they had suggested an elbow at the end of the drain. We contacted the company who poured the concrete and asked him if that would be something he would be willing to come out and put on the end. And he said absolutely he would come and put the elbow on the end. So instead of going straight out to the adjacent property, it would go down our property to the drain that's in the road, in the alleyway. He, however, did not feel comfortable coming out and putting that in with the stop work order sign in our yard, although they had said that they would grant permission for him to come do that. He was all hands off. He said, until that sign is out of your yard, I'm not coming and doing that. But he 100% agreed that he would come put that in if that would help the drainage issue as well. I also, if it helps with the narrow lots, I have quite a few photos. I don't know if you guys have, do you have a copy of this?
Yeah.
Okay. Then that is it. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
Yes. Get the chair. So my name is Kevin Burkowski. I live at 257 Garden Gate Circle East in Hardyville, 29927. And I am the party in interest in this matter. And I live directly next door to the Salernos. So at this time, I would like to submit for public comment this response to applicant's application for an exception to the variance. And if I could please tender this to the commission. Go sit down. In addition to that brief, I would like to make some additional comments, if I may.
Okay?
So, distinguished commissioners, in the fall of 2023, on a weeknight evening, I discussed with Tyler Salerno the installation of a desired patio as I saw him measuring out the footprint from my living room window. In the course of that conversation, I mentioned that a setback in South Carolina would need to be 5 feet from the property line and would require the approval of the appropriate governing agency aside from our HOA Architectural Review Board. On the 29th of October, 2024, the Salernos hastily poured the subject patio, which I maintain is ill-planned, flouting the need for this agency's approval and failing to meet this agency's requirements. I expected such patio would be level grade with a step down from their walkway onto the patio, consistent with the aesthetics in our planned community, rather than the poured concrete wedge 16 inches from the property line with a drainage emitter flooding part of my backyard. Additionally, the patio sits 13 feet from my living room window and slightly more to my upstairs bedroom window, accounting for the upward angle. I'm recovering from stage 4 cancer surgery, which I underwent in mid-November, and I'm currently on my sick bed in my living room at this time with the intent to move back up to my bedroom in the summer. In regards to the argument of attractive nuisance, which I've included in that brief, and as well as quiet enjoyment, when I have my windows open in spring, summer, and fall, I will have to contend with the noise from the Salerno's weekend barbecues with their friends, which can get a little bit rowdy, and the smoke and smells wafting into my house, as well as the play dates that Laura Salerno has voiced she desires to hold on the subject patio involving the neighborhood mommies and their toddlers, which on that note, the 8 to 10 inch drop off the back of the wedge will pose a hazard and liability for the toddlers as the mommies chat amongst themselves. Currently, these play dates are held in the street in front of our houses, which by no means bothers me. I don't want to be perceived as the neighborhood ogre, and I would be willing to accept a setback of 3.5 feet with the patio level grade, consistent with the aesthetics in our planned community, with a step down from their back walkway onto the patio and with proper drainage as designated by this regulatory body, rather than the huge wedge of unsightly concrete which has the ability to hinder any future sale of my home. For the reasons that I've articulated in the brief and for my comments here today, I respectfully ask that the Salerno's application for a variance be denied. Thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Okay. Do we have any further comments to be made in the room?
Michael Bott, 88 Garden Row Drive North in Hardyville, Hilton Head Lakes, Magnolia Walk, 29927. The drainage issue is an issue throughout the community, you might say, but it's extremely wet on both sides of their house due to the fact that they water excessively. I have had to turn off the water on that side of the house of their neighbor to make it walkable because they physically water too much. And it's a swamp in between the houses on the other side. So the drainage issue is going to be there with or without the slab because he just waters too much.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments?
I have a question to you.
Okay,
Michael.
Mike, Mr. Bott,
Oh.
you ran too fast.
Pull the microphone down to your mouth.
Yeah,
Yeah. You said when they water it too much, explain it. They watered,
irrigation.
The irrigation system,
who? You said
this family right here,
Are they controlled by, the irrigation is controlled by the homeowner, not by the?
Homeowner.
association?
Homeowners.
Okay, thank you.
irrigation controlled by the homeowner, watering way too much, putting way too much water down, and it's got nowhere to go in that clay. So it becomes a swamp in between the houses on both sides. And in order to make it walkable, I was asked to shut off the water sprinkler heads on the house next door to them.
how far do you live from where the whoever filed this complaint is? You personally.
3 houses.
Okay. And so your opinion is that the sidewalk is causing a problem? Patio.
The patio's not causing the problem, it's their overwatering that's causing the problem for drainage. Their drainage is going to be there with or without that patio. The drainage problem and the swamp issue.
I just want to add to your comment. And that is not an issue that's before us at this point.
Yeah, that's why I
That is
understand why
that's
we're
that's
addressing a
between
different
them
matter.
And the HOA, or a civil engineer. But that, I think, you thank him for the comment, but that is not under
I
consideration.
know, I understand. Yep.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess I'm a 1, 2, 3. I think if we hear about one matter, we need to stay on that and then let something else be addressed because that certainly confused the issue for me. So we're not here for that matter, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Then that shouldn't be discussed. We should deal with what we're here for.
Well, we are here if the construction adds to or exacerbates the problem.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, sir. But I didn't want it to be into a
Yeah.
big community
Yeah, it would go back
situation
into-
about
Understood.
irrigation. It's about the
about the
drainage
patio.
spout under the patio and the patio.
Want to step up to the microphone? Yeah.
I was not sworn in.
We can swear you
Okay, I can do it. Okay.
Anyone else who thinks
anyone
they
else?
might speak?
Sorry.
I solemnly swear that I will speak truthfully and accurately to the best of my knowledge and ability.
I solemnly swear that I will speak truthfully and accurately to the best of my knowledge.
To the best of my ability.
Ability. That works. Good. Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is James King, and me and my wife and my son live at 207 Garden Gate Circle East. We live on the same stretch of homes there. And I guess just to go back to what was said before, I know we're not here to talk about drainage in general, but that was something, the reason why I think that's pertinent to this conversation is that it is something that was brought up about adding possibly like a French drain or something like that. But I will speak that in that stretch, the homes are very close to each other and drainage is an issue for all homeowners. But what I wanted to say was, I guess because the houses are so close together, denying their request to build a patio on their property, even though from what I'm understanding, it's within like a neutral ground that it might be encroaching on. I'm not positive about that part, but I think it might set somewhat of a dangerous precedent because of the constructors that built the community. We're very limited to what we are allowed to do with our homes, and in terms of taking into consideration the noise level that might be brought from these homeowners. Again, I am not their immediate neighbors, but I do live within a stone's throw away. Very rarely do I hear them. I think their noisiest thing is their garage door opening and closing. But I'm assuming we would be part of the soiree. We have a child too. We all hang out. And as long as it doesn't violate the noise ordinance, I don't think noise should be taken into consideration. If that's the case, then police should be called for violating that noise ordinance for Hardyville. Other than that, I think allowing them to build it would give them the opportunity to play safely in their home, on their property. And if the concern is a hard step off, dirt can be planted to grade the landscape, and that is then avoided. Thank you. I appreciate your time, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Am I allowed to step?
You are.
Hello, my name is Alex Otsubo. I live at 34 Garden Road Drive South. I live kind of across the alley or across from them, the front of the house. But me and my wife are good friends of Laura and Tyler. We've been friends with them since they've moved in. I wanted to just talk upon their overall neighborly. They are very good neighbors. They are very kind and generous and very giving to everyone. We are all very close, as you can tell, within our neighborhood. We all love to spend time with one another. As far as the complaints of noise, I think that if it comes to noise, then that's a whole nother issue, but they have the right to be able to have barbecues on their property and be able to have play dates on their property. It should not be in their issue to accommodate their next door neighbor. The houses are very close together. There's no way of going around that. And they should be able to enjoy what they've worked very hard for. And they certainly have done everything that they can to be able to enjoy the life that they've made for themselves.
And we truly understand this, but on the scope of the matter is, and we don't bring up the irrigation part of it, and whether or not they can be allowed to do this. The houses are very close together, and that's how they were designed, and that's how everybody bought into it, knowing that, the clearance. The the regulations set up by the city and the HOA for that matter was set up for a purpose in mind. And to contend with any issues that might arise later on, be a noise, the fact of drainage issues, I think a lot of that is in there. That's the reason why setbacks are installed. That's why they're set in there. So we need to take everything into consideration, including this gentleman's concerns. So I need to ask, well, okay, you probably answered the question earlier. One of the things the association didn't do, and you were supposed to get a variance from the city prior to the association's approval.
Correct.
They're bad, everybody's bad all the way around. Relative to the drainage issues, as has been brought up in here, drainage in Hilton Head Lakes, wherever you are, is a problem. And there have been a lot of neighborly disputes concerning that. I don't think a pipe going in a different direction is going to be the result of that. I think the recommendations made by the town about getting a civil engineer out there is the proper way of doing it instead of just Band-Aiding it. So that's my opinion. I don't know about these gentlemen. So,
You don't mind, I have a question. So, does Associa require notification of neighbors?
No, sir. Just 6 inches from the property line.
Okay, so the notification, sorry about that. Notification that was made to neighbors was made to all neighbors, including your next door neighbor?
I did not have to make notification to any neighbors. They found out when the concrete company was there pouring, and they came out yelling at the concrete company to stop pouring, calling Associa and having Associa call us, telling us that we needed to stop the pour.
Okay, thank you.
So Associate is the homeowners association?
Yes, sir.
Management.
And their requirement is 6 inches from the property line. And that's why we went
No,
6.
no, no.
No, it isn't.
Yes, I have,
No, they approved 6 inches from the property
Yeah,
line.
their requirement is
Requirements are 5
much
feet.
different. It's 5 feet. But they allowed an exception to you
Without going through the city.
without coming here.
Right.
There, in your neighborhood documents, it's a 5-foot setback.
Yeah.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just
So-
emailed me 6 inches was
Right.
approved.
So everybody in the room who belongs to Hilton Head Association, read the documents. There are enough of them in there, the residential documents, the ARB documents. They're very clear on what you can and can't do when you go to do building of any type.
Yeah, generally, the most stringent of the guidelines, either homeowners association or the municipality, will be the one that sets precedent. So even if there's a weaker one with the homeowners association, then the municipality would take.
Mr. Boyd educated us on
Looks
that
like that.
after the fact. Yes.
Yep.
We learned that after the fact. If we knew before, we would have,
Yeah.
obviously. But it was too late.
No, we do understand there's a lot of disconnect in the community between the association and the people, and so it is what it is, so. Nate, you have any questions or any,
Perhaps you're about to take a vote?
well, we need to come to some sort of agreement of what we're going to do and not do.
I would suggest that we grant the variance with the condition that a civil engineer be employed within a very short time to evaluate and recommend how to correct a drainage issue, which I'm sure there is, and that the homeowner be required to follow that recommendation. That's what my suggestion is.
Yeah, I'm not in agreement. Kindly, I'm not in agreement because the houses are so close that these types of variances could become a regular condition. It's a shame that the houses were built so close. And I think that because of that, there's a needed restriction or that space in between. Civil engineer, I believe, could tell you how to deal with a normal drainage, but not necessarily for a 50 or 100-year storm, which is already an issue. Please.
There have been some, and we talked, I think everybody in Hilton Head Lakes at some point or another has talked about a French drain somewhere somehow, and in other communities. There are some options. We also discussed with the applicant some options to allow for maybe not a concrete pour, but some kind of a paver or pervious. There are reasons, good and bad. But what we have learned from dealing with the neighbors, with engineers in the area, that there are some alternatives. There are some things that could be investigated. If a civil engineer comes back and says no, they have to, they're licensed. They have to tell us truthfully and factually whether or not it can be fixed or not, and to what extreme. Maybe you want to put that kind of condition on there if you're so inclined that it has to, return it to that how's it worded? No runoff off onto the opposing properties or adjacent properties, or something to that effect.
Well, and
Is this
that's
sufficient? Thank you.
a part of my catch here
Mhm.
is that we don't have that information from an engineer.
Not at this point.
No, so it's very hard to say, we'll grant a variance on these conditions when we're not completely certain what conditions would be presented by the
Just,
civil engineer.
and I'm not advocating one way or another. I'm giving you some options on how we can come up with some answers that, and if they can't do it, then yes, we could put it in, then it would not be allowed at that point. They'd have to remove it or something to that effect. But we are willing to work with, as I mentioned before, however the board feels is most appropriate.
I would like to make a motion that we allow the civil engineer the opportunity to bring a report back to us. And also have one other concern. No one discussed safety. Does the patio present any safety issues that it normally, a little higher than it normally be, or does it present any?
Don't regulate that.
That's not something that we're able to regulate. They can, if it was approved, it'd be able to be allowed at the height that it is now.
Okay. That would be my motion that we give applicable time.
Another question I have, if, let's say,
Excuse me.
we vote not to approve the variance, could they
ma'am.
come back? I'm sorry.
I wasn't
Oh, I'm
finished.
sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I'm making you aware. I'll be brief.
No, go ahead.
My recommendation that we do not vote on it until we hear back from the civil engineer and bring a report back to us, and if we find it is
And sir, that's always an option. You always have the right to table it on the basis that you would like more information. And that is always an option. You deserve to have all the full information you can have from everyone concerned. The requirement that we have is that you table it to a date specific, so that we will go ahead and determine when we would be back here and go ahead and schedule that, if that is what the board so decides.
I'm going to pose one more question to you, sir. Yes. Okay, we read your brief. Is there any meeting that we can reach between what you put out for the 3 foot 6 inches and they have as the 16 inches?
Yeah, if they came in 3.5 feet from the property line, I'd be willing to accept that. And,
But that's it?
and proper drainage.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying 3.5 feet is your minimum setback?
Right. Yeah, I'm 20 feet from them on one side
Yep.
and 25 feet to the other neighbor on the other side. So, and then off the back of my patio doors, I have a flat patio flush with the ground, and that's what I thought that they would be putting in, with a step down from their back door walkway onto the patio. Because literally on the one end, it's like literally a wedge.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, and so it's like, I'm also concerned, even though safety is not an issue being discussed here today, but, for any toddlers that are going to be on there, plowing off
Again,
onto the back.
That's not really part of the concern of this committee.
I understand.
And it may be a concern of yours.
Yeah, liability issues with my homeowner's policy.
Right. Well, that's on their that's on their property, so,
But that would be my compromise. They never did and come talk to me.
okay, no, I get it. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
You have another person in the back who's raising her hand.
Can I, you to swear me in?
Yes, you can.
Have you been sworn in?
No, that's why I said you have to swear me in.
I solemnly swear that I will speak truthfully and accurately to the best of my knowledge.
I solemnly swear I will speak truthfully and bestly to my knowledge.
Wow. Long day, Grace? Long day?
Yes.
I'm Stephanie Otsubo. I live at 34 Garden Road Drive South. So we have extended our driveway. Doesn't make a difference with the drainage. It actually helps our drainage. We got it approved by you guys. They got it approved by the HOA 6 inches. Honestly, it's going to help the drainage between the homes, especially with the way our drainage system works. Is if you put your sprinklers on, you flood out your neighbor. With having that extra concrete, it actually helps with the drainage. It doesn't make it worse, it makes it better. And it doesn't have to be flushed to the ground. This is so that they can have their kid play in the side yard. If you didn't want to live right next door to your neighbors, you shouldn't have bought a house here. Okay? They're never outside past 7 o'clock. They have a 1-year-old. The drainage is going to improve with that patio there. It's going to make it so much better because I can do it based off of what we added to our house. Okay? And
Now, you live across the way?
I live across the street.
Yeah, so your driveways, which were brought up in the packet here, were previously approved by Village Park Homes because your garage is out back.
Correct, sir.
Yeah. that was
You
it.
added to your driveway not the walkway.
No, but if you look at all the HVAC systems, they're all on concrete slabs.
Right.
That's, utilities are
helps.
separate.
Utilities
Well,
are
it's
zoned differently.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
exempt.
well, but as you can tell, the concrete version
Yeah,
helps
no,
it drain.
Got it.
So I think that needs to be looked at in your variance discussion. Thank you for your time.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you that I feel that we need some expert opinion on the drainage
I agree.
before we take a look at any variance.
I agree.
Okay, make a motion.
I make a motion that we table this. What's a fair time period, 60 days?
That could work.
Is that too soon?
I need to look at a calendar before I say 60 days, because we have to.
Well, 60-ish.
Well, and in case there's any city attorney or Josh, city manager here, it needs to be a date specific. Am I correct on that?
So let me kind of go back. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Josh Gruber. I'm the city manager for Hardyville. I know I've not had the opportunity or pleasure to meet with y'all yet, just because you don't meet that often.
No, we
so
don't.
glad to have you here. Glad to be part of this process. One of the things that I wanted to talk about in your role as a Board of Zoning Appeals, you have a difficult job. This is some of the most difficult work that we do in local government when you've got two groups of very reasonable people who are both asking for reasonable things, and you've got to pick one of them. That is not an enviable position to be in. And so I want to kind of state that from the outset, because this is going to be fairly standard for the things that you have to look at. You're going to have competing interests, and you're going to have to weigh all these facts. What may help with this analysis, because I know that there's a number of different things that you can look at, but at the very core of what your function is for is to look at those 5 criteria that staff outlined and determine that each one of those 5 criteria are met. If any one of them are not, you must reject the request, because that's what South Carolina law requires. So what my comments were going to be today is staff can go out and we can obtain any information that you need in order to help make those determinations. But I want to make sure that it's clear that if we're going out and gathering additional information, what criteria it's related to help you understand and make that decision about whether it is or is not met. And so if there's one of those 5 that having more additional drainage information would help to solve, then we will go out and get whatever information you need. I can tell you from my perspective, one of the things that I'm seeing with regards to this specific application that I think is going to be very difficult to get around is the question about whether or not this issue can apply to other properties. Given this location, the fact that it's in a subdivision and there are so many other homes that are laid out in exactly the same configuration, that to me becomes problematic that this is an isolated incident. It could happen many other places within this community. And if that's the case, then I think where that leads you is you have to reject it, because if you approve this, then you have to understand that any one of those other properties can come in and say, I'm going to build a patio too, regardless of what the code says. So this process is there when there's a conflict between applying the code and applying rational judgment. When those two things don't mix, that's what you're there to look at and say, you know what, in this specific instance, it makes sense. But it's got to be because all 5 of those criteria have been successfully satisfied. So having said that, if you want staff to go out and get information, we are happy to do it. I'm just going to ask that you kind of articulate how it's going to help further your analysis or discussion with regards to identifying whether or not these are or are not satisfied.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think
Look forward to meeting you, by the way.
number 4 is the issue here in my brain. That, that's where I would like more information. Can we do something as a group to help the homeowner meet the criteria for number 4? We don't right now meet it, and it doesn't sound like we're going to meet it. So we need to, that's where I need more information.
A question I have. This is 7x17 concrete slab that was poured. If we don't approve the variance, for my curiosity, what is the furthest out they could pour? 2.5 feet?
They're 5 feet back from the line.
Take 3.5 feet back.
There's 7 feet and there's 6 inches. 7 feet, 6 inches minus the 5 is 2.5 feet, right?
3.6 would have to come off.
Yeah, the 3.6 would have to come off.
Have to be cut in half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Again, I would like to make a motion to table this. Edit, can we identify a time?
Let me, first I will,
Josh, to your point, excuse me, Brianna, Josh, to your point, if we're gonna go through all this process and this is gonna set precedent, I think this is a bigger issue than just the patio right now.
I wouldn't disagree with you. I wouldn't say that is, we have to anticipate that, but it's always something that you've got to have at the back of your mind, and that's why number 2 exists, to say that the conditions here don't apply elsewhere. That way, if you grant it, you don't have to worry about this applying to other properties in that area and having other people come in and say, well, they got it, why can't I have it?
Well, this is why I'd like to get the civil engineer involved, because if there is something specific to this property, we should know it before we make it.
Absolutely. And that's what we can go get that information and come back knowing that the analysis is focused on that aspect of it.
And if going beyond this type of setback is gonna, and we all know that all the other properties are in sync with what's going on here, whether it's watered, overwatered, or underwatered. If it's gonna happen here, it's gonna happen down the road. So if coming within 5 feet or whatever of that property line for any other structure, any concrete, this is just a patio.
Yes, sir.
Is gonna create a problem constantly, then
And to a large degree, that's why the standards exist.
that's right.
And so that should always be our fallback position, that we're
Agreed.
going to comply with the standards. It's only when it doesn't make sense to apply those standards to a specific situation that we have this process to make sure that, yes, it makes sense to exceed those standards for this purpose.
Right.
Now, with the staff y'all have, as far as, is there somebody that is capable enough to make, okay.
and I believe, and I'm on, where, Katie's right there. The engineer of record that originally did that layout, I think with the best, they work for the city on a lot of information instances also, so we would work with them, to get some information. That way it's not, biased either way, and we can get you that information. It looks like that if you're looking at approximately 60 days, March the 4th is a Tuesday. If we did the same, operating on a Tuesday at 4 p.m., I think that would be
That works for me.
It should.
March 4th? That
March
works?
4th.
Yep, for me.
Yeah, so I make a motion that we table this and for a meeting for March 4th to continue this matter.
I second the motion. Have a vote? Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? No? Okay. Vote is unanimous. We will table this until the staff gets back to us with more information and take it back up on March 4th.
Can I ask just one quick question in regards to the setbacks? In the, all right. Microphone, please. Okay. Like Bodigan, 88 Garden Row North. The setbacks of being 5 feet, I do believe that the builder at that point in time, be it Village Park, is only setting back the physical buildings 5 foot from the line, okay? So you're gonna have in that neighborhood concrete driveways that are much closer to the lot lines.
That was
Outside of
part
that
the
5 feet.
That was part of the original construction plan as approved by the city.
That's beyond the board,
Right.
the board purview.
Right.
the original development.
That was original development that was approved.
Okay, so the original development plan allows for concrete closer than the 5 feet. Just thought process.
Necessary.
Yeah,
Necessary to put those in for the garages.
yeah, okay.
The patio is not necessarily
walkways.
necessary.
So I'm just throwing that out there, that you're already allowing concrete closer than 5 foot from the line.
Agreed. Okay, any other comments?
One comment I'd like to make to Salernos and everyone who moved into to this section of Hilton Head Lake. Welcome to Hardyville. We love you as neighbors. This has nothing to do with you. We just, like was being mentioned, sometimes tough decisions have been made, so don't throw anything at us at the grocery store.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Everybody in favor? Aye? Aye. Adjourn.
Deal.